Hello, my name is Reverend Joseph Andrew Jensen Sr. I just finished talking to Elon Musk about an hour ago. And at Elon Musk's request, I made a YouTube video earlier and posted on Facebook that Elon Musk, him and I had a discussion and we figured something out that he doesn't ever look at Facebook. He never deals with Facebook. He only sees YouTube. So all the posts that you see on Facebook are done by scammers. All the pictures and things are collected by scammers. None of it's true. None of it's real. They're just old videos of him being in a hospital, or his son, or his mother, or he's lonely. All this is stuff they collected over the years. And then they use it to make you believe that it's sick. This week, even today, it was that he was in the hospital. He's in Paris, France right now with Donald Trump. How far this has gone. The world has gone crazy. Run by AI, by hackers, by criminals, and bad government. Government has overstepped its bounds, and so has religions. I represent God. God's come back. He came back. He's been here 5 years. He came back to me 5 years ago on June the 9th, 2019. He came here to declare that he is God's message. But basically, it turned into a war. It went from bad to good. Bad to worse. It started out bad and then it went to worse. Why? Because people kept on doing what they're doing. They did what they always do, is they trampled on God. They trampled on God's name. They trampled on God himself. God lives in every one of us. God lives in our head. He fires the synapses of your brain. You can't even talk, smell, taste, hear. You can't think without God. And yet we don't even call thinking. It is the highest part of our senses, that we are able to think and put everything all together. We can do all these things at once because we have the ability to think. Why? Because we are not a source of electricity. God is our source. Nobody can deny God, because how are you breathing? How are you living? How are you even thinking? Now, let's get beyond that. We're way beyond words on this. I've gotten through to Elon Musk. I've been talking to him for 2 months. And ironically, I was supposed to start with Donald Trump, which I did start with Donald Trump almost earlier this year. I'm talking about earlier this year, like in January or February this year. Now it's almost December of the end of the year. This much later, and we've gotten hardly anywhere. Well, I've been everywhere. I've been to Africa. I've been to Cairo twice. I've been to Jordan. I've been to Palestine. I've been to Israel. I've been going. God and I have been busy. We're doing what we're supposed to do. Why the world's stomping on God? I'm preparing this world for a massive takeover. It's got to do with money. This next year, it could happen this year, but it can't. It could have happened this year, let's put it that way. It almost happened this year, because I've been talking to Elon Musk 2 months. All Elon Musk has to do is make an announcement. It won't cost him anything. To tell everybody in this world, go open a GODScoin account. All he'd have to, if he was to take his $240 billion, and he could give everybody at least $100 in every account just to sign up. Every man, woman, child, newborn infant to the oldest person in this world. 9 billion people. He can open. He has enough money to give everybody at least $100. Now, God doesn't want anything He's got. He doesn't want. They don't want SpaceX. He doesn't want Tesla. He doesn't want any paperwork. He doesn't want your home. He doesn't want your car. He doesn't want any of your possessions. God only wants everybody to get rid of their money and immediately open their money and transfer it into GODScoin. Now, if everybody has to be together at once, GODScoin's created for all countries and all people, 9 billion people at one time, to switch their money out of any kind of currency that they have, their homes, everything they worth. Just tell the assets, but those with the assets, transfer your assets at one time. That goes for you, Jeff Bezos. That goes for you, Satoshi Nakamoto. That goes for you, Bill and Melinda Gates. That goes for all of you, Warren Buffett, all you people. No matter who you are, God's not going to, in what you've done, nobody's going to be an exception. Everybody has to get GODScoin. Why? Because God's going to be in control of this planet. Because He'll own the money. Everybody that's 18 years old and older in this world will get a phone to do their banking by facial recognition, by voice recognition, by fingerprint identification, by hand geometry on their smartphone. They also, when they're 18 years old, will be able to do the banking for the whole family and registered to vote. They will be registered to vote at that time. Then the first vote will be to vote from home by phone. That's right. We have control. We're at 9 billion, or at least 4.5 billion voters immediately when 9 billion people sign up. Unfortunately, you don't have $100 at the end of that thing, but all you guys got to do is open the GODScoin account and then start putting your money in. It won't be immediate what you'll be able to withdraw, because we start at one country at a time, starting with Burundi, the poorest country in the world. The poorest country in the world will be the one to start. There's only 12 billion people. But then there's also 26 billion people in North Korea. North Korea and Burundi both pay 5,000 to 1. That's 5,000 won in North Korea, 5,000 Burundian franc in Burundi to the dollar. Well, guys, I'm immediately making GODScoin worth a North Korean won and a Burundian dollar, a Burundian franc. What's that mean? So that's 5,000. So 5,000. But I'm also announced in November 26th that the American dollar will cost $75,000, be worth that much. I started to decrease that by $1,000 a day, but it's going back up to 75,000. It'll stay that way. Because here's the way it's going to go. All Elon Musk had to do today was get on worldwide TV and say, everybody, go open a GODScoin account for $1 or $10, whatever amounts you want. Open a GODScoin account. You have to. If you don't open a GODScoin account, you're going to miss the boat. So, this is called like y'all believe in the rapture. Y'all believe in this? Yes, you better get the GODScoin account, because everything's going to free fall at that moment, because everybody's pulled their money out. This time the government's not pulled their money out. This time the people pulled their money out of the banks. and they turned it into GODScoin. Basically, that collapses the whole country unless everything changes to GODScoin overnight. Well, they can still use the same currency. They can use the dollar, the won, the yen, the whatever currency you have. But there's got to be a backing. The backing has to be, and God's going to back the dollar. God's going to back the yen. God's going to back the Burundian franc. God's going to back it all, just like He did the manna in heaven. So what I say you're going to get? An open account so you can get money, withdraw money, when it's your turn to do it. The whole planet will be highlighted red. And then as your country pops up, it'll be highlighted green. Burundi and North Korea will be two highlighted green. Bitcoin, Satoshi Nakamoto with Bitcoin, he's retired from Bitcoin, but still all Bitcoin owners will be offered 2-to-1. 2 GODScoin for 1 Bitcoin. $75,000 each. Right now, a Bitcoin's worth $69,000, so they're making money on the 1 Bitcoin, and then the other one's totally free. So they're doubling their money, more than doubling their money by this trade. That money will go directly to the Congo, the next country to bail out. All of it goes to the Congo. The new Republic of the Congo is a combination. It's all one united country now by the new Democratic Republic of the Congo. But it will also be, the Congolese franc will be equal to the GODScoin. 5,000 to the dollar. 5,000 Burundian francs to the dollar. And each franc is worth $75,000 because it's got 5,000 GODScoin. Then it's got 5,000 times 75. So that puts everybody in the case where you're pretty much all millionaires. So anybody with Bitcoin will be pretty much billionaires. That's what it amounts to. God's not going to make taking money away from anybody. Elon Musk stands, if he could have done this today, he would have made 9e to the 19th power. That's a 9 with 19 zeros afterwards. In GODScoin. And GODScoin's worth $75,000 a piece. Those numbers are called a decatrillion or something. That's it. That's the biggest number anybody's ever seen. 19 zeros past the 9 in GODScoin, and there's 5,000 GODScoin to the dollar. Anyway, the numbers are really high, but it's all going to happen. Can happen overnight. It's going to happen this year. It'll happen next year because Elon Musk believes in me, but he has to get himself free to make decisions. He's lost his company, in a sense, to committees, to people, stockholders, people that run it. I own him. I am a sole proprietor. I have no answer to nobody except for God. I own GODScoin. When I've convinced everybody to go get GODScoin, sure, money's going to be in the bank. Your $100, let's say, for instance, in the bank, automatically turns to $75,000 times 100. $750,000. You see what I'm talking about? Then everybody that gets GODScoin, that is 18 years old to 40, will join God's services. Can join, be volunteer. That means you stay and work at your job that you normally have, or you go to school. You're getting paid to go to school, and you're getting paid to work. So it doesn't matter if you work at McDonald's or you work at a hospital or where you're working from. So you're going to be learning your job. You'll be learning your job to do a better job, and for 6 hours a day. 4 hours a day, actually. 6 hours if you're going to school and you're not working. But you'll be going to school with kindergartners starting out with. Kindergartners. You'll be a teacher's aide, or you'll be learning something. Everybody in this world has nothing better to do than learn. It's learn from the bottom all the way up, and you'll spend a whole school year, whether you're overqualified for that grade or not. No, you're going to stay the whole school year because I'm paying you to do it. So if you're working, you get 1 hour a day. You have to go to kindergarten. You have to go to first grade, second grade, third grade, whatever level that you have. But everybody's going to start at kindergarten, so you're not going to just jump into first grade or second grade right up. You'll go to kindergarten 1 year. You'll keep going. You're getting paid to go to school. For those that haven't got a job, you'll be going to school. More like 4 hours a day. 2 hours is for traveling. 1 hour is going to be for learning martial arts. Everybody in this world is going to be learning martial arts if it's nothing but Tai Chi for exercise. But you'll also learn Kempo. That's the basic martial arts. Everybody needs to learn. It doesn't use any weapons, doesn't use knives, spears, swords, nothing like that. It's just open. But in Kempo, there's a rule. No second strike allowed. Either you're going to make the first strike or I'm going to make the first strike. But there's not a second strike allowed, so there is no fighting. We don't fight. We aim to dislocate and break bones. We can break your feet, we can break your knees, we can break your hands, we can break your fingers, we can break your collarbones, your ribs. But we will disable you on the second strike. Like you said, you might get the first strike, but not the second. Because we sized you up way before you ever come close to us. You think you're going to high kick a person with a nose Kempo? Well, you're going to go to throw that kick or that roundhouse kick or whatever you've tried to do. The other knee's coming out from underneath you. It's getting broken or dislocated. You all learned the Kempo. No weapons. We don't let somebody pull a gun. We don't let somebody pull a sword. We gotten you before you get there because we're rushing you. We rush you. We don't give you a chance. We pick the timing, we pick the place, and we pick how we're going to hit you. We come out in the open, not like a ninja, not sneaking. We come at you rushing. If by chance that you happen to have that knife out of that thing, we still got a 50 chance of not getting hurt. We could die. We don't care. Because once you get into a fight, a real fight, you could die anyway. You got to realize that. Now, bullies and criminals and everything are being controlled by two things. Martial arts. Everybody knowing martial arts. But also by the GODScoin. Once you step out of that bounds, you got GODScoin coming to you and your whole family. We're not going to touch your whole family's going to still get GODScoin, but you're not. And your account, your GODScoin's going to pay for an investigation. No matter who the investigators are, because we're certainly not going to pick the CIA, the FBI, and any Secret Service or any known entity. We'd rather have a bounty hunter. Anybody that wants to find out any dirt on you. And they'll keep on trying. And when they're satisfied that they don't know anything, we'll refund, put everything back that you used. The innocence. But if you're found guilty, you're going to lose all or part of your God's coin. That's how you keep people straight from going astray. Then you got everybody able-bodied that knows Kempo. Then you got everybody that has more money than they can handle to spend all the rest of their life. Buying cars, buying part, and God has no rules. We don't have any goody two-shoe hypocritical rules. God likes beer. God likes pork. God likes spontaneity. He doesn't like tradition. Tradition means not too much to God. The fact that you took that much time is respectable to worship God. But the fact is that was it meaningful? God knows whether it was meaningful or not. Most of you, in fact, I'm claiming all of you do not know God anyway. If you did, you wouldn't be killing. Nobody would be killed. The Ten Commandments said, thou shalt not kill. What part of that didn't he understand? And don't claim God killed. Nobody. All the books were written by murderers that made themselves look like heroes. Every book is not the word of God at all. It's the word of men. Not even men, women. It's made of words of men. Holier than thou men. The rules were made by men. The governments took over as God. The religions took over as they know no more about God than the man in the moon. No, you can't speak for God. You can't make the rules for God. They claim that right. There was only one rule in the beginning in the Garden of Eden. That was to be caretakers of this world. But you stopped doing that. Adam and Eve were told to get out the garden. And ever since then, we've been doing our will, not God's will. Doing whatever the hell we want to do. And we made up the rules and made ourselves holier than now. We are all hypocrites. Why do you say I say while we're in God's war? This is it. This is the reason. And you deny this. Anybody denies this. You can't deny it. I don't care what religion you are or where you're at. You can't deny that the Bible, the Torah, the Quran were all written by men. You can't deny the fact that all of you acting like God when you're making the rules. You say you can't drink alcohol. You can't eat pork. You got to pray this way. You got to pray 5 times a week. You got to do all this stuff. Who made the good rules to you? Not to God. They're blasphemy. You blasphemy. You took the place of God and you called yourselves better than anybody else. God lives in everybody. He doesn't exclude anybody. We said they're going to hell. We said infants are going to hell. We said unborn are going to hell. Everybody, there's DNA. Your family lives in DNA. All the way to your ancestors. You live in your children live in you. All of you, your whole bloodline lives within you. And your whole bloodline, you live in them, they live in you. We can't die because we're immortal. You know who else is inside you? All the unborn. We all have unborn. They're not neither guilty of anything. They're totally innocent. Had nothing to do with it. And yet you're going to send them to hell too? We have messed up. We know nothing about God. The minute you started to turn from yourself and listening to God between your ears is the day that you turn your back on God and walked away. Every religion's done that. You know, that's why I say you have no idea. The challenge is either do what God says, go get GODScoin, or never use the word Jesus, or never use the word God. Ever. Ever. Nobody. Not anybody in the world, not any religion. The challenge is, unless you're going to do God's will and do the one thing He's saying is get the God's coin, don't ever use the name God ever again. But God's going to take over this world regardless, whether you respond or not, or get God's coin. He's going to give it to everybody in this world too. But you know what? If you don't take it, well, how do you think you're going to live? How do you think you're going to eat? You got because there's not going to be any money, no currency. You can't buy currency. You couldn't buy a dollar bill. You couldn't buy 50 cents. You can't buy any currency in this world because God's coin. You have to have God's coin before you can use any currency. It's going to be confusing to everybody, but it's going to be overnight. Yeah, it's coming like a thief in the night, just like it was said. Nothing's changed except for the fact you're talking about God living inside you. God lives in each and every one of us. We're supposed to be protecting each other and looking out for it. Caretakers is what God used as a word. We are caretakers of His planet and each other. What part of killing did we not understand when He said the Ten Commandments? No sooner did God part the Red Sea and allow them to cross, and believe it or not, nobody died. Pharaoh's army didn't die when the Red Sea came back together. They got wet. There's no doubt they got wet, but they didn't die. God protected them, made sure they all escaped. Now, they lost their chariots, they lost their weapons for sure, but they didn't die. Abraham, God didn't tell him to sacrifice his son, Isaac. Abraham was 114 years old. He did that on purpose. He wanted to kill Isaac so Ishmael could have his first inheritance before he died. But God provided a sheep, and He said, no, Abraham, I provided a sheep. Your wife had Isaac because she was 77 years old. How did that happen? Because I provided her with that, because I couldn't make the angel told you. He told her, both of you, he couldn't make the covenant with Ishmael because Ishmael was going to be a wild man. His hand against everybody and everybody's hand against him. So he couldn't make his covenant with Ishmael because he was a wild man. And one third of this family, this whole planet right now is wearing robes, covering themselves. Was because they could be raped. A woman could be guilty of her own rape if she enticed a man. So a woman covers her eyes, her face, her whole body in clothing to keep from being raped. That was originally. But now she keeps it because she's a disgrace if she changes in her robes, because she'll be run out of town by disrespecting the traditions and changing those clothes. Out of fear, you all live. Fear of man, but meaning you don't know God. You don't have any clue about God. If you're going to wear those clothes out of fear, then you put the people you fear in charge, not God. You didn't put God in charge. Think about what I'm saying, people. Don't ever use the word God. Ever. In anything you say or do. You hypocrites. Self-proclaimed hypocrites. Oh, there's a lot more to learn. And there's a whole lot you should know. But then we're going to start with the God's coin so that it stops everybody in their tracks. The fact is, God's right. He come back to a world to claim His ground, and He's not giving nobody any choice. Open a GODScoin account. Okay.